I feel like I've been in limbo and I'm stuck in Yuma. I keep trying to make it from Phoenix to San Diego, and Yuma's pretty much where I end up.
Totally illogical, isn't it? Given the fact that San Diego's only 200 miles that away, why don't you just go?
Exactly. So my question being is on relationships. Can you dumb it down for me?
Well,
because obviously I feel like I'm close to it, but it's just not happening.
yes, we can give this to you in a way that will be easier for you to hear. So it is easy to see it relative to just pointing your car in the right direction and continuing to go, because that journey is quantifiable. It's easy for you to say it's 200 miles away, it's 199 miles away, it's 198 miles away, it's 197 miles away. So you are hopeful because you have evidence of your progress. Where when you want something like a relationship and you are infinitely aware that it isn't here yet, even though you may have been dreaming about it, you may have been cleaning up your vibration about it, you haven't seen the evidence about it, and so you are less certain because you are using the physical manifestation as your point of evidence rather than the improvement in the way you feel. So the way you quantify, this is good, isn't it? Yes. So the way you, is it dumb enough for you?
Yeah.
It's a wonderful question, and we are pleased that you are asking it in this way, because it is tricky when you have been using what you see with your eyes and hear with your ears and so on as your acknowledgement of what's happening, to have something that is 99% created and not be able to see it takes an element of faith that if you don't know about the laws of the universe and you don't know that the way you feel means something, what happens is you'll be moving along. You'll find a positive thought. You'll think about what you want. You'll view something that you appreciate. You'll come into vibrational alignment with the idea of this, and you are moving right along to it. And then you'll see someone who right now has exactly what you want, which reminds you that you don't have it right now, and you turn upstream. So all that's happening is you're turning toward it and away from it, and toward it and away from it, because you're letting what is control the direction of your thought rather than what you want to be. So the key is you have to take the relationship out of the equation.
Take the guy out.
Yes, for this reason, because did you hear us earlier when we said being without him has caused you to want him, and being with the wrong ones has caused you to specify what you specifically want? In other words, you have created this magnificent relationship that your inner being is already fully enjoying. We'll give you more about that in a moment. So as this relationship is already come to vibrational fruition and you're feeling good about whatever, you're moving toward it. As you feel bad, you're moving away from it. So the work has already been done relative to the creation of the relationship. Now your work is to hold yourself in vibrational alignment with the well-being that is waiting for you, which means your work now is to feel good. So this is the dumbing down part that we really want you to hear, and it is not a dumb question at all. It's the elementary question that you have posed so beautifully. You have to care about how you feel, not about the guy, because the guy's a sure thing. But when you pick up the stick that says my mate, you pick up the stick that has him missing on one end, and you don't believe he's present on the other. So every time you activate the vibration of relationship, it turns you upstream. Where if instead of activating the vibration of relationship, you were activating the vibration of things always work out for me, I'm getting to handle this, I know what I'm doing, I've been envisioning, my life has caused me to put him there, I know he's there, I don't have to worry about when he's coming, and you get focused upon other things that make you feel good, or things about that make you feel good, before you know it, you'll be there. What you want is a sure thing. It's just a matter of you allowing yourself vibrational alignment with who you are. So when your quest is alignment with who you are, we promise you your lover will be there. Well, what's happening with you is your picture of who you are and what you want is so vivid, and you are in the process of coming into alignment with that vivid picture. So the timing of this relationship is not because he's late in showing up. It's because you are wanting to come into alignment with who. It is so much better to be in alignment with who you are, him be in alignment with who he is, and when you rendezvous, you're two people in alignment who then recognize each other. But if you meet him before he's in alignment, or if you meet him before you're in alignment, then you miss it, you see. And that's all that's been happening. And that's just fine. Don't want to rendezvous with someone that is not in vibrational alignment with your total picture of what you are wanting. Agreed? Mm-hmm. So you are so on track. Everything is so unfolding perfectly. You have not one thing to be worried about. From what we know of your vibrational escrow and from what we feel of you, your sensation should be one of elation. You should be romping towards San Diego, not dragging your heels on the pavement.
Right. Well, that's what I think.
And don't let anyone else's criteria about how long it's taking, about where you're looking. You don't have to go looking for this. This will come and find you. Your role is to be happy. Happy, and in your happiness, you will be inspired to the conversations, to the rendezvous, to the actions. And don't worry. Don't walk into a room and look everywhere. Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Instead, say to yourself, you're there. I'll know you when I see you. And when all the bells and whistles go off, I'll take a second look. And until then, it's not you.
Okay.
Don't talk yourself into anyone. This one is going to feel great.
Good morning, Abraham. Thank you very much for coming to Atlanta. Several years ago, you gave a practical example of attracting money. And the example was keep a $100 bill in your wallet and imagine all the things that you could buy with it, even if it were a pair of shoes that you couldn't fully afford. So,
Therefore, practicing the feeling of prosperity. Yes.
And so, I can't afford both shoes, but I could afford one of the shoes. And so you get a good feeling out of this. And this is a great practical exercise. So could you please give us a practical exercise for attracting love and the feeling of love?
Well, we think you started with a very good premise and it dovetails perfectly into what we've been talking about all morning here, and that is, if you can find the feeling, then the other will come. Now, in this case, you're sort of looping around, and we get why you're doing it, and we understand that the processes that we've offered have sort of set you into that place. Let's be clear here. The reason that we offered an action that we knew would produce, that we knew had the potential of producing an emotion, is because we knew once that emotion was produced within you, that it would serve you. So just now we said to you, we don't want you to need to rely on the action in order to produce the emotion. And yet you live in a world where you've already established your trajectories. You live in a world where you are already accustomed. There is already some momentum going. So did you play that game? Did it resonate with you? Was it something you wanted to do or did? Esther did. She put that $100 in her wallet and she spent it all day long, all day long, all day long. Now, $100 wouldn't go far enough for her.
Yes, the answer is yes, I do that, and I have plenty of money.
And so the idea of it is to find a way to feel prosperous. And knowing that when you feel prosperous, the law of attraction will say, well, here's a prosperous path and here's one. In other words, in today's conversation, that game, you know, the $100 process, we've explained it well enough for you here, puts you on a trajectory of prosperity, so that prosperity must find you. And the stories that came back to Jerry and Esther from people who began that process of all kinds of things that began happening in people's experiences, and the thing that made it most exciting for them and for us and for Jerry and Esther is that these people who were applying it now had an absolute correlation between the feeling that they had deliberately induced and the universal response to that feeling. So that's what you're asking for here. How can I find that feeling? Now, in other words, you could use that process to work for you, or you could use that process to work against you. But if we can convince you that you're wanting to do anything that you can that makes you feel good, because that means it's working for you. So, in the same way, in the absence of a relationship, you have to look for the components of what a relationship would feel like and acknowledge that you've already got something comparable to that $100 bill. In other words, Esther, because she was so sort of dependent upon the relationship that she had with Jerry for company, for good company, for all kinds of intertwining in all kinds of different ways. So she just started noticing, well, this is a really fun person to talk to on the telephone, and this is a really meaningful person to talk about here. In other words, she began noticing that there were lots of ways of satisfying that relationship in lots of different people, and in doing so, there's no absence of that vibration, because what you're reaching for is happiness in the now, yes? So the answer to the question is, so let's focus upon the soothing, not the void, the soothing. Well, Abraham, what am I soothing? The void. Well, then think about being soothed. Think about feeling good. Think about having fun. Thinking about being at one. Think about your inner being. Think about source energy who is always with you. We want you to know that the reason that most people are looking for a partner is because they're trying to fill the void that really can only be filled with alignment. And so what you might say is, in the same way that I have this $100 bill, I've got this non-physical partner. I've got source energy. I have the ability to focus. I have the ability to feel good. I have the ability to align. I have the ability to attract whatever I'm wanting. This falls into the category of starting in that general place, you see. Because we don't think that we wouldn't get a blow-up doll and put it in your wallet. And that's sort of the analogy that you were reaching for with the $100 bill. In other words, you have to find a way to achieve a feeling of ease about something that you've been feeling angst about. And there are a lot of different ways of going about it. So let's find the analogy. We think it was a really fair question. So, Abraham, you told me to put $100 in my wallet, and if I would notice that it was there, instead of noticing that I didn't have it, notice that I did have it. That every time I notice that I have it, then it would increase a feeling of prosperity within me. So isn't it logical that every time you're having a really good conversation with someone, if you notice it and acknowledge it and repeat it in your mind later and activate the vibration of it, isn't it logical that that would induce that same vibration? It's the same sort of thing. Anything that makes you feel satisfied with where you are is a beneficial thing. Now, often that scares our physical friends. They think, oh, you ghost. You're not really interested in our manifestation. You're just interested in us satisfying ourselves in the absence of what we want. And if I get really satisfied with the absence of what I want, then the universe won't give it to me, because I learned from my mother the way to get things was to throw a fit. And if I act happy before I get the thing that I know I need to make me happy, then is the universe going to really give up the goods? And we say, oh, please tell us we're past that understanding. That you understand that you never get anything through throwing a negative fit. You always get it through soothing your point of attraction. It's the whole point of understanding what your grid is. It's the whole point. And so with this grid conversation, what we're wanting to lead you toward is choosing the disc that you want to be on without needing an excuse to be on it. So in some ways we have evolved past the $100 bill process, because that says, give me a $100 bill and I'll spend it and spend it and spend it and I'll end up on the high flying disc. And we are now submitting to you that when you wake up in the morning, you're up there, just don't blow it with some screwy thought. Oh, that was a little blunt, wasn't it? When you wake up, you're there. You're there. You have vibrational currency. Just mean to stay there, and every day you'll get better at it. Every day you'll get better at it, until eventually you will wonder why you were ever worried about anything, because you have the means to everything within your vibrational countenance.